guys, welcome back to another video. So for today's Monday sketchbook session, I do think I am going to continue with the longer type of sessions. You guys can let me know if you guys prefer the longer videos right now or like the shorter videos. Anywhere past half an hour I would consider like a longer video of mine, versus like keeping it under half an hour would be considered like my normal time. So if you like the longer videos, do let me know. But today, kind of similar to last week where we ended up doing this spread, which I think turned out really cute. I know my lighting, I can try to fix this. Okay, hopefully it's a little less blown out, but yes, we did this last week and I thought it'd be fun to do another acrylic marker type of spread for today. But we are going to be drawing my OC Selwin. Basically, using the same kind of art materials, I want to make everything very like punchy and bold. I want to do more or less similarly to like a full spread of color. So we are going to be using acrylic markers. I have like a bunch of different acrylic markers, so I might pick from like a few different sets. I'll make sure to list them in the description if you're interested. And then as for some embellishments, some smaller details, we're going to be using the Languo gel acrylic pens. So I'm going to take this opportunity as well to talk a little bit more about Selwin, kind of with Art Fight on the horizon in July. It's coming up pretty soon. And I feel like I've talked about Selwin like fairly vaguely, and I know a lot of you guys actually do like Selwin as much as like my other OCs as well. But I think Selwin is definitely like a fan favorite so far. And he's always one of my favorites definitely to draw. So we're going to be mostly coloring today. So I used my high-tech C Coletto 5 multi-pencil pen, whichever you want to call it. And I'm using the same kind of like blue lead as I always do, which happens to be this one. So this is the Uni Nano Dia color in the color blue 0.5. And I bought like a bunch of different refills for this because I think I only have 3 left. 4 left. 4 left in this case, and it is definitely one of my favorites. It comes with 20 pieces, so it's been lasting me quite a while, but because it is my favorite, I decided to restock on it. But yes, that is what I have for the sketch right now. And with acrylic paint markers, they're fairly opaque, so I think I'm going to leave my sketch lines kind of just here for now. If we need to cover them up later, we'll just do a few passes and, you know, kind of build up the opacity a little bit. So I kind of wanted to do it similarly how I do my sketch page style, where I have a bunch of drawings just kind of overlaid on one another. I stuck to 3 only right now because I didn't want the session to be extremely long, and I wanted to keep some semblance of the background. I think it'd be cool to emulate kind of how I do my digital sketch pages and have some sort of grid in the background. So we'll do that at the very end. But for now, let's choose our background colors. So similar to the one that I ended up doing for the Go For It Kaisen, I've been enjoying something very like poppy and bright. For, I think, our background, I'm going to stick with the Ohuhu Waikiki acrylic marker set first. It's just the ones that I've been using more recently, so I know they have pretty good ink flow. We could do dark, kind of this yellow color for the background, which I don't know if it's the same as the yellow I used here. It might be. And then use the lighter yellow and maybe white, we'll see, for kind of these lighter stars. But I've been really liking the bright colors, so I think that's what we are going to stick with. None of these are really like Selwyn's hair color per se. I might think that the slightly more purpley one would fit him better. We'll see. I might see what my other options are, but let's do the background first so we can let that dry as well. Oh, maybe I should show this first as well. So ignore my doodles here. I was doing a little bit of testing to see what kind of like inking material we could use for the outlines or line art later. I don't know if any of these are options that I really like. Which one is this one? The Energel Klena works pretty well as long as you give it like ample time to dry. So you might use that. I might also just stick with the Languo pens, but like I said, for this one, the style for it I feel like fits quite well with kind of like these bolder one width kind of line work. So I'm gonna see what works best for Selwin, but for now, let's get to coloring. Okay, so I'm gonna shake up these markers, and I think we're gonna start up with the lighter color, and then we can kind of carve out the shape a little bit with our darker yellow. I feel like this should work fine. Kind of similar to how I usually work with any type of acrylic marker. I don't typically do a lot of like blending or like smearing or smudging per se. I leave everything quite, I guess, like more like cell shading. A few passes, because despite how opaque the paint markers can be, a lot of the lighter colors, I do find that some of your pencil or your sketch kind of like shows through. But what helps also is that if you plan to do outlines, you can definitely cover up parts of your sketch as well, so that it's a little bit less see-through looking. But we use yellow for the main. So because Art Fight, like I said, is kind of approaching quickly, I wanted to take some time to talk a little bit about like my thoughts about Selwin, because he's a character that I 100% adore quite a bit, but I don't think I've really expanded too much about like his general lore or my general ideas about him. I do think there are some things I've already talked about Selwin specifically. So I'll do like a mini recap first, but let me get some progress in here first. Probably do some of the shadows, just like a blue. I don't know why I like yellow so much when it comes to like something very vibrant, and it might be because like it gives more of like a happier emotion, and it feels very playful when it's very vibrant and bright and kind of like next to some other very vibrant and bright colors. I'm gonna choose a light blue as well. So if you guys remember, Selwin's kind of like the OC that I made that is kind of the conglomeration or the combination of a lot of my favorite, I guess, like drawing traits that I like from characters. So I wanted him to be a character that felt very comfortable for me to draw. So he embodies a lot of the same like characteristics visually from characters that I just like in general. And because of that, I feel like it makes it a little bit easier for me to draw him whenever I feel like I don't know what I want to draw, or if I can't think of anything as like a placeholder or anything like that, I will most likely gravitate towards Selwin, or maybe even like my other OCs, but I think he's more of like my inclination will go towards him regardless. But another like thing that I wanted to kind of like incorporate into Selwin is also color palette that I would really enjoy, and then something that else that I really like is like a star or a space-ish kind of theme. I think like sparkles and stars and stuff is just something that I always gravitated towards to some extent. If it wasn't like, you know, plants and clovers and flowers and stuff, it's typically something like this I find very like cute as an aesthetic, I guess. But to give you a little bit more background information about Selwin, Selwin technically is one of my OCs that is not part of Masaki's storyline or universe. So majority of my OCs that I currently have, so this would be like Sato, I guess like Masaki, Koji, Sato, Akemi, Moriko, and Kaisen. Even like Arakan and Anka, who are like Akemi siblings, they're all under like Masaki's story. And because I really love like slice of life, just normal everyday life kind of like activity or storyline, that's kind of like Masaki's story. It follows like his daily life basically. But for Selwin, because he's not part of that storyline, he's kind of in I would consider like a different universe, or more like slightly fantasy-ish based, because Selwin was initially made from my friend's P crew, or not my friend's P crew, she had a P crew that helped make our characters for her kind of like magic school AU. I don't know what happened to that specifically, but I made Selwin as a character for that, and he eventually transformed into this OC because the design I did not end up keeping. But the only thing I kind of like ended up keeping was one, his name, part of like his color palette, and his, I guess, like animal companion, I guess, which is like happens to be a seal type animal. I don't know if I'm gonna change his design. And I think, did we come up with a name? I think it's Cecile was the name for Selwyn's little companion. And then I think I've only briefly talked about this because he was part of like that magic school AU that my friend kind of made. One of his powers, or like his main power and like trait, is the fact that he is more like a support character. If he was like to fight, I guess. He'd basically turn liquids into crystal shards. And that's like something I wanted to kind of like carry over to current day Selwyn right now. And I want him to be kind of like not fulfilling wishes per se, but has something to do with like the shooting stars in the sky that people on Earth see and all of that. And kind of like is it like a myth, I guess, of if you wish on a shooting star, your wish gets granted type of thing. So I wanted something for him to be affiliated with that, whether or not it's like trying to fulfill these wishes, or for him to put more of these shooting star-ish kind of sightings or seeings that people see on Earth, put more of those into the sky to give people more hope type of thing. I don't know if that's going to be making a lot of sense. I definitely want to do more of like an actual dedicated video about Selwyn, because I don't know how much I can articulate while I'm drawing, and I feel like I'm on a time constraint right now. But going off of like kind of the general idea for Selwyn, actually I don't know if I want to do yellow for the background now that I'm thinking about it. Unless I change the star color, maybe I will. I forgot that he's sitting on like on a little star platform type of thing. Maybe I'll make it light blue. I think that would be cute, actually. I don't really think about color palette too much about like today's page. And unfortunately, I do think one reason that the Go For It Kaisen one works so well is because I had a color palette I could follow that was kind of pre-made. So I didn't really have to think about it too much. So another thing about Selwyn, or like, I guess like my thoughts about him. I've always imagined like his living space or situation is that he lives on a smaller planet and he's a little bit more isolated, besides like, you know, his animal familiar. But I want to make another character. And I don't know if it's going to be like animal or like fictional fantasy creature like, or do I want to go with another like human like character that's kind of like a messenger type of person who might like relay information to Selwyn, maybe? Because maybe Selwyn's part of like a larger group or organization or something. So because he chooses to live more in isolation, he needs like some way of contact. We're gonna figure it out. The thing about Selwyn is that I didn't plan for him to technically have like concrete lore per se. I don't think every OC needs it. Some people are like, you know, you just want to make OCs because you like designing characters, or maybe you just want to draw whatever. You don't really have to like force them into a story or have to make a story to have characters, you know? So I was not planning a lot for Selwyn initially, but the more I thought about just like incorporating back a bit of like magic and fantasy into his life, I guess, there's like a little bit room for building a little bit of lore for him, I guess. I just don't know how exactly I want to approach creating the story for him if I do choose to go that route. But I think a messenger or like a postal kind of character would be cute. I also thought that maybe it could be his like animal companion familiar that's like doing the messenger stuff, or make it something that someone has to do on the side as well. We'll see. I guess I didn't talk about this either, since I didn't talk too much about like what I'm listening to while I'm working on this session. Oops, accidentally got it on his hand. But I feel like for these longer sessions of, especially like sketchbook doodling or filling a spread, which is what we were doing today, I like to give you guys insight on what I'm listening to as I'm working on the spread. And I am once again back into my Vocaloid phase. I feel like I never left, really. I just go back and forth, honestly. It's called Little Traveler, and I'm pretty sure I've talked about the song like a lot. in the past as like being one of my favorite songs, but I feel like it's so fitting for Selwin. And I might have mentioned this in the past as well, that it was like a song I kind of affiliate with Selwin, purely kind of like out of coincidence. I don't think I really think about his character or his lore, or whatever you want to call it, and kind of like base it off of a song. But maybe I'll put the lyrics on the screen somewhere, maybe over here where it's not being not blocking anything that I'm working on. But there's like a few lines in that particular song. If you look at like the English translation anyways, if it's accurate enough, I feel like it fits Selwyn's story quite nicely. I could be wrong, I don't know. But I do want the spread to be more like blue and yellow, pops of orange maybe, because I feel like that's definitely a part of Selwyn's color palette. Because now that I'm looking at it, because Selwyn's hair is dark, I didn't really want to go with like a dark color for the background, but I don't want to go too light since we have like the stars as well. So that's what I'm thinking. Do I go just the darker yellow everywhere and maybe change this to like a deeper orange? We'll just do our best to block things out as for now. I guess also for Selwyn, what else did I want to talk about? I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts about Selwyn, maybe? Your perceptions about him? Because I know some people have like their own lore when they see people's like OCs and stuff, or make their own headcanons, I guess. Because as much as I feel like Selwyn, other than Cecile, like he'd be more or less like alone, but I don't know if that makes me too sad and I want to give him like another person of contact. But I might need to like define Selwyn's personality a little bit more before I make another character, because I would not want like another character that overlaps too much. Kind of like how Masaki and Kaisen have slightly more opposite-ish personalities in a sense. Same with like Koji and Masaki as well. Like I wanted them to be kind of like foil characters in a sense. But maybe I should just learn how to draw like more older characters, because maybe a kind of like older father figure, grandpa figure, grandma figure kind of esque character for Selwyn is something that I would want him to have instead. Hopefully with the darker colors and like parts of his outfit and his hair will make the yellow pop a lot more. I think I also mentioned it briefly about Art Fight, that Selwyn might be the only new character I add to like my roster. One, I don't have a lot of like OC characters. I don't think I'm gonna add my Persona VTuber self on there either. I was thinking of maybe adding Anka and Arakan maybe to Art Fight. I will see, because I would have to make like proper references for them and actually solidify a design for Arakan. But it might be just Selwyn, because my priority for this year, depending on I guess how Art Fight might be approached this year, I don't know if they're still doing just the normal pick a team, earn points type of thing. I just want to draw a lot of characters for people, I think is my goal, and potentially stream as much as I can for those. But I'm always thankful if you guys decide to draw my OCs, but I don't think it's like a priority for me to be like, I need to upload my OCs so that people can attack me, per se. Sorry if that sounds a bit selfish. I just want to focus on drawing as much as I can during Art Fight, because I feel like I didn't do as many drawings as I would have liked for people. I think I only ended up doing 17 drawings at varying like different detail, I guess, because some of them are more like sketch-like, and then I think there was 2 sketch pages, and then the rest were kind of like portraiture. It's weird. I usually don't look up at my window because it's kind of like high up, but I can see the moon from here. I do feel like sometimes when I work on what I deem like quote-unquote sketch pages, you have like overlapping doodles and different poses or expressions or whatever you have of the character, I have like weird gaps where sometimes I don't know if I want to continue the character all the way down to wherever it should be, or if I should like cut it off. Like even here, like I don't know if I want the full back of Selwin to completely go down, or if I want to fill it with something instead. Okay, but let me talk a little bit about Selwin again, since today is gonna be mostly about him. So the idea of like turning liquids, I don't know if he's gonna have like a fountain type of thing, and he has to take care of it, but probably still like a finite amount of liquid. But he turns like the little liquid crystals into fragments that might resemble shooting stars, I guess. Because I don't know if he's actually gonna conjure up what makes up like an actual star and put it into the sky. I feel like that's a little bit too much power. So I feel like what he's doing is mostly like giving hope to people by giving a little bit more, you know, shing shing, sparkle sparkle into the sky. So people still have hopes and stuff when they see something fly across the sky. But I love Selwin a lot. I think he's very fun to draw. So at least for me, he has fulfilled his purpose. The first few of my OCs were meant to be OCs to push me to draw certain things. So Masaki for flowers, Koji for, it was supposed to be more like action poses, as well as like energetic kind of posing. Somebody it's a bit younger, a different kind of like stature, because he's much shorter than Masaki. So Selwin feels a little bit going back to the same meaning of wanting to have a purpose for the character in a sense. More for my sake rather than like, oh, I want to make a story or like make a fun character per se. Because I can definitely say that Selwin has gotten me out a few of like a little bit of my, not exactly art block per se, you know, being in an art slump every so often, or being a bit too indecisive on what I want to draw. So he kind of fills that gap a little bit. So I'm always thankful that I decided to make Selwin a very self-indulgent character for me. So if you haven't made an OC before, and you consume like a lot of media, whether it's like anime or like TV shows or what have you, make OCs based off of like your favorite character traits or visual traits or whatever. Just put them all together, see what kind of character you make. It's like I said, Selwin checks a lot of boxes for me in terms of like things that I enjoy drawing. Kind of like larger eyes, I guess, as well. I think he's just very cute. So he, like I said, checks a lot of my boxes for me. But in the future, I would love to do more spreads like this, if this turns out the way that I want it to. Because my thought is always like, oh, I would go through phases of using alcohol markers a lot if I want something like very vibrant for especially a spread like this. But acrylic markers, I feel like it's a little bit quicker and a little bit more vibrant for me to use. So see how much I like this method, and we'll probably continue using it. But if you kind of want to think about like the vibe that Selwin gives, listen to Little Traveler. I think it's like the best song that I feel like encapsulates the vibe that I want Selwin to have in a sense. Because he has more of like a curious, like calm vibe to a certain extent. But I feel like behind all that there is like a little bit of that sadness, which might come from the idea of like having him more lonely or isolated in a sense. Because I don't know about you guys, if you think about like the night sky and you think about the stars and how vast it is, even though the sky is filled with so many stars, I feel like sometimes it just seems so empty because of how far things can be from each other despite it all. So I feel like that's kind of what Selwin is embodying for me, at least. So similar to the Kaisen Go For It page, trend drawing, whatever you want to call it, we're going to be mostly blocking in a lot of our larger shapes for now. So it's going to take us a little while until we can actually do some of the details and even coloring Selwin, I guess, himself. So because he's going to be a little bit more top heavy in terms of where I'm placing the darker colors, because it's mostly his hair and the upper portion of his sweater. So mostly like here, these areas. I want to have like either a darker blue or navy blue ribbon kind of framing the bottom portion. It also helps to break out of our little borders, I think. So I will probably have to look for a darker blue color with the Languo pens, and we'll probably drop in our shadows here. So I don't know if I want to use black per se, but I kind of used our darker color out of our paint markers here to part of this to kind of like twist and turn and bend. So I don't know if I want it to cut through or underneath for this. I feel like if I had more time and the confidence to, I think it would be cool to like try to make... Well, this would take forever though, considering how long animation takes. But imagine doing like a PV, kind of like promotional video formatted TV size, I guess, of this song, but make it an opening for Selwin if he had like a show or an anime or something like that. I think it would have been fun to do, but I know I wouldn't be able to do it. I'll probably have to see if I can find like a similar color to this and then bring that in to maybe outline some of these shapes, because I think that might work the best in terms of like keeping things kind of consistent. So I think his hair is a little bit more purpley blue, while his sweater is more like green blue. I have a picture of my son right here. This color is what I would use for his hair. Make the shape stand out just a smidge more. I feel like this blue dries a little bit more cooler than I would like it to be. Okay, so back to our blue color, which I think it's this one. We're gonna block in Selwyn's hair and I think his sweater color. Part of me thinks like maybe I should block in his skin tone. I don't know if this is too depressing. I think the lyrics of Little Traveler, I think there is a lyric that says like, I think you can see my teary face, I think. I'm like, what if it's tears that, it's the liquid that he's turning into like fragments that becomes the stars or whatever. Is that too depressing? Like people's hardships? I feel like that's too depressing. But I feel like it would make the most sense technically in terms of like how he would have like a very limited supply. Even though it sounds kind of messed up. So the unfortunate part is that I don't really have a good color for Selwyn's like sweater. It might be this, but I feel like this looks too much like skin tone. Because this has like a kind of more of like a lighter color for the most part. I can kind of see through my lines, which could be a good thing or a bad thing. For me, I'm kind of taking advantage of it because I'll be able to eventually pick out certain parts to do a second layer or to darken. Because I feel like for Kaisen, from like the previous spread, I think I ended up doing Languo pen only for his skin tone. Like I didn't block out a base for the skin tone initially, I think. As I'm kind of like approaching to do our second layer, I don't want to accidentally cover too many of my lines because I need a little bit of context here and there for when I do need to add a bit of shadows or like separating certain parts. Hair. I guess we will block in the hair. No. What do I want to do? We can block in the sweater, I guess. Let's add in our little bits of blue here and there. So technically his hair blends in. His sweater color. Patchiness. So I think depending on your paper will probably also depend on how well these markers work. But these markers typically pretty juicy. I feel like they have pretty good coverage. Is this a little bit too high on him? I feel like it is. Lower his sweater a bit. We'll throw in his funky little belt afterwards. Because when I doodle Selwyn, I always give him like the little highlight at the bottom, but it kind of is a nightmare because of his eye color is kind of like a gradation-ish kind of color from purpley ultramarine blue to orange to kind of like a warmer yellow to a very light yellow. And then if I put a white highlight, it kind of disappears in his eye. Let's take a good look. I don't know if I have the correct color for Selwyn's sweater per se, but we can make do with what we have. And then we'll do our highlights and shadows for our skin tones here. Because like I said, I do have like a skin tone-ish color I think is brighter than this. Shadows for the hair, we could do this. Plus, is this 1, 2, 2? Yes. And then we'll use a little bit of yellow as well. But these pens are always fun to use. I don't know how well they perform like if you were using them as like just a normal gel pen. But for drawing, I've always had a lot of fun working with these. Whenever I can, you know, find a way that works best for my workflow, I guess. Kind of want it to be more like ribbon-esque as well. Kind of similar to the ribbon down here, but also because Selwyn does have little, kind of like a bolo tie kind of vibe around his neck as well. I can't tell if I'm staring at this color too much. Maybe it's because it's more like a salmon color. It's very pinky. I might bring out some highlights, or we'll go another pass so that the yellow is even darker, or not darker, more solid. Because on camera you guys can't really see super well, but a lot of that sketch is like kind of coming through still. I think it would have been cute to do like a even larger chibi with these acrylic markers. I think it would have been cute to do, but I didn't want to commit because I feel like more recently, a lot of my chibis have been turning out so derpy. Except for, I think, one of my recent commissions. One of my recent commissions, they looked really cute, actually. Kind of keeping with the same color palette. We could use it for his mouth as well. Oh, wow. This is very light. Let's add some shadows. So I'm kind of debating if I want to use this first, and then we'll go with more of that pinkish color, because I think this is not dark enough, right? So light. Yeah, I think we have to use this to do our shadows. Despite how vibrant this is, I think it should look okay. It worked pretty okay when I was working on Kaisen, but it might have been because we had such a dark, contrasting line work. So as usual, I'm kind of like debating on what I want to use for the line work, because earlier I showed you guys a few different attempts of using some different inking materials and supplies, like pens and stuff, to see what would work the best. But I don't know if any of them really work as nicely, and I'm thinking, do I just stick with the gel pens maybe? Pink is very vibrant. It almost makes the base color look so muddy-ish. I think it's because it's also mixing it with the blue that it kind of gives that muddy kind of look. I think is this a 1.0? I'm assuming it is. The bold ones or the plus size. I forget what this is like marketed as, but it has pretty good coverage. Doesn't take too long to fill in like darker areas, I guess. Try to buff this out a little bit. Oh, maybe I should have worked on the eyes next. Now that some of his hair is gonna be like kind of encroaching on the space for the eyes. I will also kind of like use it a little bit more sparingly, so I like having some secondary color pop through. And I think this one is gonna be one of the drawings where I might have to put the highlights after, because like I said, I put them at the bottom initially when I was sketching, but that's just like out of habit. Especially like I think the earlier days, it's not even like Selwin's not even that old in terms of like when I created him. But the initial time when I was making Selwin, his kind of like default eye look definitely had to highlight more towards the bottom when I doodled him. I feel like Selwin, maybe compared to Maseki, is not as like super cheerful, optimistic. I think he's a little bit more calmer, but he has a lot of like curiosities. So we're not really caring about like every individual strand here. We're kind of just blocking in the general shapes for Selwin. Because I can't really pinpoint a specific character that has like this type of hairstyle where I was like, oh, I really like that character because of the hair. I think whenever I saw fan art, as well as like when I was drawing this person as well, I've always liked their hair. Which is D8 from 17, who had a kind of like mullet hair era. I feel like his hair is quite long right now too. But he kind of have like a mullet wolf cut kind of thing going. I think S-Coups also had like an actual mullet. Because Maseki's actually pretty close. His isn't actually as long as the way it extends down Selwyn's face, or his neck, or his like head area, I guess. I'm trying to think what other character has like a very much like staple hair look. I guess for Selwyn's bangs, I think I've talked about this as well. That Albin Knox from Nijisanji En, as well as Ike Eveland, their hair, or like their bangs, are kind of like the flipped version of each other. And I always found it fun to draw. I feel like Selwyn kind of has the same look to it. Everywhere else should be more or less good. I can kind of see the glossiness from the paint. I don't really mind it too much. I feel like it's mostly from this one. I think everywhere else is kind of more like slightly more matte-ish. I might have to use this color actually. So I don't have the exact color for his sweater. And I mentioned that earlier, but we're gonna have to make do with kind of finding colors similar and hopefully using like highlights and some shadows that might push this color into the right color family in a sense. Just like with the context, like we'll make some of the highlights a little bit more yellowy. So if your gel pen doesn't seem like it's laying down fairly flat, it's kind of more like scritchy scratchy, try rolling your pen to a different side and see if that works a little bit better. Sometimes I feel like to get the ball for, I guess like jelly, for gel pens, I guess, it's kind of similar to a ballpoint pen, I think, where it has like a ball at the very end. And it rolling, I think, is what allows the ink, or in this case, some sort of paint, to dispense. But because I'm holding this more upright, I don't know if it's also... Actually, I think we're okay to use it on the side. I was using it more upright because I thought it would help the rollerball, you know, lay down a little bit more smoothly. But I don't think it really changes. If anything, it's putting a lot of pressure. It's giving me a little bit of that carpal tunnel feeling, so I do want to be a little bit careful here. Color's not too bad. I would have liked something slightly warmer, almost like a light orangey color mixed in with this particular tan. Is this considered tan? It's like almost like a very, very light pale brown. I feel like it would be considered tan. So I'm blocking it in for the most part. There's some like transparency or translucency in some areas, but once we add shadows, it should help that out quite a bit. But I think this is kind of like a fun way to fill out a spread. If you have like really bold, punchy colors, I think it's definitely fun to use. Another way I like to add colors, if you don't have anything like markers, alcohol, water-based, acrylic, whichever, colored pencils, you can definitely get some really vibrant, punchy colors depending on how you use them. But also, like, if you have like fluorescent highlighters, they don't even have to be fluorescent, but highlighters work as well, kind of like in place of water-based markers. You can also use Sharpies. What else is there? Sticky notes. I know, at least for me growing up, it's either like those pastel sticky notes or like those really vibrant fluorescent ones. And I feel like that's like a fun way to add color into like your sketchbook or a spread, whichever. I'm kind of wishing I made the text blue, kind of this blue color. It's not too late to change it. I feel like it's hard to read on this tan. I might speed through this process. I might go a little bit slower for myself, but for you guys in the footage, it might go by really quickly because I'm holding my pen a little bit more strangely so that I alleviate a little bit more of that pressure in my hand. I think this week will be the week that I will tackle the mini comic that I want to do for my Tomodachi life because, oh my lord, I have more to update you guys on, but I feel like you guys would need the context of what already has happened, which is what I want to cover and not spoil for the mini comic. So I'm going to get that out as soon as I can, probably for Saturday's video, so that I can freely talk about this a little bit more. So I'm going to leave a small outline so that we don't lose his arm. I feel like some people who probably like blend more or mix the colors more in a layering fashion might have less problems with the streakiness because all the texture probably covers it up as well. Also, despite how much I've done like for inking, especially because I've been drawing Selwin a little bit more in my sketchbook and I've been doing more inking. And I guess Kaisen would too because their color palette, at least for their hair or like what I like to draw them with or as, they would have more, at least darker things for me to like shade and render or use my pen to the fullest. I have not gone through all the ink yet of that same cartridge. I forget which one I was working on. It might have been like the Kaida Haru piece from 2 or 3 weeks ago, I think. I have not used it all. And because of that, it is making me a little bit worried that I won't be able to... Oh, I guess I can bring this all the way to the bottom. It's gonna take me forever to get through the ink is what I'm saying. Same thing, we'll bring this all the way to the bottom. We're just gonna cover this corner, so hopefully we don't have to run into it the entire time of sketching and shading. I think that's the shape I want. And then extend it so that he doesn't abruptly stop at the one edge. But because this is technically like a wet medium, my page is kind of buckling. Okay, so because his pants, I think I ended up using, what's this color? I don't really have like the right pants color for him, but I believe this is going to be the closest since this is what I ended up using for his little necktie. So his glasses and accessories, I want to see if I can find the correct yellow. It's not quite this dark and it's not quite this light. So you want something kind of like in between these. Because not only does he have like little accessories like this, you have his glasses as well, and then earrings. Kind of like the glasses chain. And then his glasses here. It looks kind of dead inside. It looks cute so far. We have majority of it blocked out at least, which I think looks nice. I'm gonna get one more binder clip so we can prevent this from curling so terribly. Not as dark. So we could plan our shadows with this, and then we'll figure out our highlights after. So as much as I wanted to continue listening to Little Traveler, for some reason it just stopped playing. So I switched to Shiwa, which I think is wrinkle in Japanese. It's one of my favorite Vocaloid songs as well. It makes me cry. I forget which cover it was. It might have been like one of those covers where it's like multiple singers all at once. But watching like the PV or like the music video makes me cry. But we're just blocking in his hair for the most part. Like I said, this one's a little bit easier for me to, for some reason, imagine. I'm tempted to do the shading for the sweater with this blue as well. Kind of keep it more, not monochromatic per se, but have a good bulk of maybe the lines with even this color, because I kind of like it. So this one I definitely got backwards. I feel like my brain capacity cannot really think about how I want to do this. Even on the one for Kaisen, I've messed that one up in terms of how I did the drop shadow for one of the letters. I think was not correct. And I'm pretty sure this is not going to be correct either, but I think it'll help make the text at least stand out a little bit more. I think it looks cute though. I might add drop shadows and stuff to the little stars as well. We'll see. I think overall, like, working with such bold colors, it is very fun. And I've always mentioned whenever I talk about using like any acrylic marker set that I've gotten, I can understand why they give the color selection that they do. I think it's just like the way that I work in general, that something that's like very vibrant and poppy, like in this sense, I typically like having a softer look initially going in and then eventually pulling out contrast. This one I think is just like mostly going to be contrast if we can help it, and it does help make everything pop forward. He looks so cute, but he looks so derpy. He's so round. You can see how much ink this is dispensing, or paint. I think it just helps with more of like that graphic look. So if you like something like that, then try to focus on some blockier shadows like this. So we're gonna block out pretty big sections, because as we change from color to color, I'm gonna get like smaller and smaller. So it would be great if this didn't skip as much. So I'm doing kind of like a band of highlights going across the crown-ish area of his hair. I will work on the tiny little Selwin here. I usually do like W kind of shapes or like M's or N's, I feel like is the typical shapes for hair highlights. But like I said, it kind of depends on the hair as well. Like not everything's gonna fit that same format all the time. Okay, so then go back to our, I guess we could use yellow. So we'll skip kind of like the minty green color. I forget if someone told me, is there a thinner version of these pens? Because I feel like I would love something thinner, but I can't imagine like the consistency the paint would have to be for it to flow like properly. Highlights also just help. Like if you don't want to darken everything up, it just helps everything a little bit more by pushing it forward as well. Also add in the little lines. Make it work. So one thing I'm going to do is wait until everything is completely dry, and then the other thing I'm going to do is get a ruler and check how opaque my white paint is, and we can do some grid lines going across. Okay, so because of my long break earlier, it's actually 2 a.m. So I'm going to come back tomorrow morning to finish working on this, so you guys might see this a little bit later. But bye for now, because I need to sleep. I'm trying to fix my sleep schedule. Okay. Okay, it is the next day. We're doing the grid. That's all I can remember. Also, it's not the morning. I had to do stuff in the morning, so right now it's like the very early afternoon. It's like right after lunch. Hopefully I don't have food coma. Let's see. So grid-wise, I said I wanted to use a ruler and I want to use white. I might mark off so we can have even lines. I feel like I need to wipe off the excess paint. Usually white or like gel pens that I've had in the past, especially like the white ones, like the Jelly Rolls, I think Uniball Signo, like whatever brand I've used in the past, but they always had like issues of drying up. This is kind of having the opposite problem where it is very much running a lot. I should have done the same thing where I should have done this first, because it's kind of like overlapping with some of the dark areas of where I've already outlined. I'm kind of doing like a scribbly line or motion for this. Usually I do hatching so that you can have some overlap and have where the overlap gets like darker. But because this medium is opaque and it doesn't really get darker per se, the more you go over it, it kind of just gets more opaque. Sleeve is, because I kind of lost a good portion of my lines. I can see it like the cuff here and the shape obviously very clearly. I just don't really remember where his arm was folded. Can't forget the sweater too. This one I might just do the line since he's a little bit smaller. I love like stripes or plaid or gingham. I guess this would be closer to like a gingham pattern, right? If it was not for clothing, I'm assuming. Which is why I wanted to add stripes to, or I guess this pattern, kind of similar to a plaid almost. Which I might also add in like a, what is it called? A drop shadow? We'll see. I might leave them flat. It might look better flat actually. Because one reason why I'm even doing this is mostly because like my lines here are very messy, because otherwise I could let the shapes be on their own and let them just lay on top, and maybe I should have chose like a darker color, but I think I like having them outlined to make them stand out. I'm always curious because I always forget to listen back, so maybe I'll do it this time. Whether or not you guys can hear my computer huffing and puffing for these types of sessions. It's interesting, some of these lines get a little bit fuzzy. Because that's like one thing I really like about alcohol markers too, is the fact that they dry quickly, they're fairly vibrant, and those ones you can like blend colors. And this one technically you can blend colors, but I find it easier to work in more of the cell shady kind of method. Technically, Selwin's like, what is it called? Hair color alongside his sweater color, like the inside sweater color, they're supposed to be a little bit different. Like it's supposed to be more of like a green blue, and his hair is more of like a indigo-y navy blue-ish color. Like they're a little bit different, but I don't really have the correct color for his sweater, so it's easier at this point to keep the color palette cohesive and just make it the same color. I might just do the outside, and then I'll choose kind of like this darker red again to do the inside detailing, because I don't know. Alright, I forgot there's like a little star for the dot of the eye. Because even me adding in this orange is kind of unnecessary. I could have used the same yellow that I did on the chibi, so we don't have to introduce like another new color. But it's a bit of a softer highlight, which I don't really mind. Like, I guess we're doing it marks to the star to make it look like it's squishing inwards a little bit. This is looking okay, right? A part of me misses that kind of like flat color look a little bit more, but you know, it's okay. That's a little too high. Maybe we'll cover that again. Okay, so we have BT181. I don't know if I'll do it for next week. I don't know what I have planned for next week in terms of what I want to do in my sketchbook, but if we do end up doing another acrylic marker session spread similar to this, I definitely want to make one of Danheng. I don't know if we're going to go like Promancer Terre, or do we want to go Imbibitor Lunae as well, or the original one, or all three together. But I want to make something definitely with more of like turquoise or this mint color, seafoam green, and like red and orange. And I feel like we could make that happen for two reasons. Not for two reasons, for two characters. Either draw Miku or we draw Danheng. So unless I end up picking ones that fit nicely with a certain background color, we could do something like that. I'm not too sure. I'm very inclined to just draw Danheng again. I think he looks cute. I might add yellow as the highlight for some of these. If it works. And we'll add dark blue to kind of clean everything up, because I did not keep everything super clean. Line art for the entire part of that. Also, my camera's doing the weird thing. It's like, it has nothing to really concentrate on. I feel like it's making all these colors like super light. This is very strange, but let's see. And then whatever areas need a little bit of dark blue. We can call this done. I'm just gonna let everything like dry as I clean up, and then we'll do our final look at the entire spread. Okay, as I was cleaning up, I just realized, if I can grab this one back out. I forgot his fingernails, because he does have them painted. I feel like that's important to to his character to some degree. So I'm gonna let this dry again. I'm gonna continue cleaning up and I'll come right back. Okay, so here's a look of the spread, kind of closer. Because I wanted to see if I could show you guys some of the texture and like some of the places that might not have gotten a lot of like coverage. Let me see if I can show you guys better. Because I don't want people to get frustrated with like not having similar looks, I guess, because it's very hard to see, but there is some of the lines peeping through. So even though a lot of these like markers and pens have very good coverage, depending on the material that you have like underneath, things are still going to show through. So don't be too alarmed if you think like, oh, how did, you know, so-and-so get their stuff to look very like vibrant and like very solid looking. It's still there, it just might be harder to see. Yeah, here's the overall look of our little spread. The page did curl a little bit, if you guys can't tell. But I like the color palette. I'm happy how, for the most part, this turned out. I'm a little bit wary on how I want to do like line work or finishing touches in the future if I do want to get smaller details, but I think I'm just gonna have to size up every time I want to work in this kind of method because the lines do get a little bit thick here and there. And just to recap, this is the one that I did last week for Monday. So if you haven't seen this video, you want to see this come to life, you can feel free to watch that video as well. Otherwise, yeah, I think I mentioned that I wanted to do another one in the future. I'm not too sure if it's going to be like anytime soon, but I've been liking adding more color into my sketchbook because I mostly have been sketching either black and white or primarily that blue pencil color and or inking. So having some pops of color in my sketchbook just feels kind of nice when you're looking back. So maybe next time we'll do one that's like primarily teal and red. I don't know what that's gonna entail specifically. It might be Danhong because it's a character I like. I feel like his color palette fits what I technically would want. So we'll see how that will go. But yeah, thanks for hanging out, guys, and coming along with me as we work on a little, I guess, acrylic marker, acrylic gel pen spread in my sketchbook of my OC Selwin, and I got to talk a little bit about him and maybe future plans on what I might want to do. If someone gets like a story or more like future illustrations or something, or if I do want to end up making like some postal service kind of character, courier type of character to have for like Cecile. I think we called him Cecile, right? Cecile? Cecil? Cecile? I think it's Cecile, his little seal companion. So yeah, I'll see where that will lead me. But for now, I think that's it for today's little session. I guess like the more I ramble, I'm thinking, do I want to go with like a mint and red color combination to make an OC and make that the courier? I don't know. Yes, but I think that's it for today's session. Thanks for hanging out with me as we work in my sketchbook. Hopefully you guys also drew along. If you did, feel free to let me know in the comments, and I'll talk to you guys next time in the next video. Bye!